Good day everyone. I'm Kintanar and I'll be presenting my builds from a scene in the Odyssey and its real life counterpart. The scene I chose from the Odyssey is Book 9. Here I built the ship that Odysseus and his men used to travel around. And here you can see Odysseus and his men fleeing the island of Polyphemus after they had battled him. Here are the giant sheep that Odysseus and his men clung onto in order to escape the cave that they were in. And here is Polyphemus, the Cyclops that Odysseus and his men fought against after he had refused to provide them with food and shelter. Moving on to the real world scenario, we have a building here with a corrupt politician inside. He is with some disinformation architects and internet trolls. As you can see, the corrupt politician is paying these people to launch disinformation campaigns in order to promote himself to the public and downplay his political rivals in order to increase his chances of winning the elections. In this other scene, you can see a politician being arrested by a policeman after he had been charged with fraud and defamation for using fake news during the elections in order to promote himself. Now I'll be talking about the 3 points of similarity. Point number 1. Both builds encapsulate the idea of abusing power. The quote is, "But since we've chanced on you, we're at your knees, in hopes of a warm welcome, even a guest gift. The sorts that hosts give strangers. That's the custom. Respect the gods, my friend. We're suppliants at your mercy." In Book 9, hosts such as Polyphemus had the responsibility to be gracious and trustworthy towards any guests that visit. The idea of abusing power comes from the fact that Odysseus and his men exploited this very custom in order to receive food and shelter. In the real world, there are many corrupt politicians who abuse their power and position to gain more money and power. There have been many cases of embezzlement which politicians use to make more money. They even use disinformation campaigns to promote themselves in the elections. Point number 2. Both builds show the consequences of deception. The quote is, "Nobody, friends." Polyphemus bellowed back from his cave. "Nobody's killing me now, by fraud and not by force." In Book 9, Odysseus and his men deceived Polyphemus with a false name during their battle, which would hinder Polyphemus when he called for help. This would arguably result in the defeat of Polyphemus in their battle. In the real world, the public can be deceived by these fake news that are spread by corrupt politicians because they don't know any better. This fake news can affect their opinion and make them vote for them with the promise of a better life under these selfish people. This would result in these corrupt politicians winning and not fulfilling these promises, causing the public to suffer more. And lastly, point number 3. Both builds depict the consequences of deceiving others. The quote is, "So Cyclops, no weak coward, it was whose crew you bent to devour in your own vaulted cave. You with your brute force, your filthy crimes came down on your head. You shameless cannibal, daring to eat your own guests in your own house. So Zeus and the other gods have paid you back." In this scene, as Odysseus and his men were escaping Polyphemus by clinging onto his giant sheep, before leaving, Odysseus would taunt Polyphemus one more time as they got away. This would lead to Polyphemus requesting Poseidon to curse Odysseus. In the real world, corrupt politicians can also suffer dire consequences for their wrong actions. If caught by officials and the court, they can be charged with fraud and defamation. Such charges could result in their downfall if they lose the case. That is all. Thank you for listening.